Mississippi Public Broadcasting is celebrating its 50th anniversary this year. The radio department, then known as Public Radio in Mississippi, began broadcasting in December 1984. Classical music and news and information were the main formats for the new network. Mike Morgan was the first program director and later station manager. He talks about the programming philosophy.
We tried to do as much as we can to provide a service that we thought people would find interesting. That included the classical music, that included the NPR news and information, that included some of the local features, which we did travel across the state to try to get as much as we could. At that time, South Carolina had not only a TV network, one of the first in the country, but certainly one of the first radio networks. So we looked at what they were doing and how they were serving the entire state using some of their principles, not necessarily the same programming, but some of the principles on how they went about trying to provide a not only quality public radio programming service, but also something with some diversity that sort of met the needs of our particular listeners.
The schedule included some nationally distributed shows like All Things Considered and A Prairie Home Companion. But Mike Morgan says local programming was important too.
We would go out and record a lot of things around various towns and sometimes just small towns. I fought hard for that. The idea of being able to go out to record, to again bring that back in, produce it, and present it to the entire state as a cultural package. That here's some of the great things that are happening in Mississippi. Pay attention, and there's a lot that you can learn.
William Fulton was music director. He says his position and changes in technology gave him a unique experience.
So I had the really delightful task of putting together a classical music library. This is still in the days of LPs, just before CDs were coming in. So we got a lot of donations from record companies because they want you to put their product on the air. They wanted you to. After just a couple of years, then we had to go over to CDs, which meant we had to get another librarian, which again, I was still music director at that point, and I got to build two libraries, you could say.
Bookending the weekly classical music programming were two themed days. Mondays were for new releases.
Our audience was wanting to hear what was coming out new in terms of recordings, new artists, new performances, new music in some cases. So I wanted to provide that service. And also it was good to work with the recording companies because I said, I'm going to feature your recordings on my show. And here's the playlist. And, it helped build our library because they would send us things. They would make sure we had the new recordings to put on the air.
And every Friday was Request Day.
Well, that turned out to be really popular. We never had a dearth of requests. We always had more requests than we could ever play. And then somebody came up with the idea of having a countdown of the top 25 requests when we started doing our membership drive. That was really a great idea. It generated some excitement. People were curious about what was going to be the number one requested piece.
To help create awareness about the new network, a logo was created that featured a stylized version of Beethoven. Both Mike Morgan and William Fulton thought it did the trick.
But I thought it was a good idea because it was something that I think many considered to be somewhat recognizable, Beethoven.
It catches your eye. Does it look like Beethoven? Well, no, I don't think Beethoven ever looked that good. Some people didn't like it. A few people thought it was disrespectful, but most people really thought it was something. It certainly caught your eye, and it was distinctive.
Programs and programming have changed since the mid-'80s, but one thing has remained consistent: a commitment to produce high-quality, entertaining, and informative programs that celebrate Mississippi and its culture. Next time, an emphasis on state news. Listen throughout the year for more about the history of Mississippi Public Broadcasting's radio division as MPB celebrates 50 years of service to Mississippi.